Hi there, I'm Trunks from Dragon Ball Z Abridged, and these are the Anime Egotists. You know, in the future, podcasts are a little bit different. They're actually from pods. You know, people trying to hide from the androids and everything. I had a favorite podcast for a while, but it got canceled. By the androids. They got killed by the androids. Don't get killed by the androids!
And welcome back to the Anime Egotists, where I'm sure the reason we weren't in Spartan Zero is because we were just too powerful, right?
Yeah, we destroy everything. We're universe destroyers, not planet destroyers.
Yeah. My name's Alex, and I don't think I could stop Zeno-sama if he wanted to erase our universe. I might actually encourage it sometimes.
I 100% agree. And I'm Richard.
That's correct. And look, we love Dragon Ball. Well, just everything Dragon Ball related. And we like to agree with a lot of people and think that a lot of our takes are popular ones. But not today.
Exactly. Today we're talking about our kind of hot takes on the Dragon Ball universe, development, everything just Dragon Ball related.
Yeah, and just like as usual for our hot takes videos, just please, I promise, just be cool about this. We understand that a lot of these are just opinions, and our opinions are no more valuable than yours, just like yours are no more valuable than ours. So just hear us out with a lot of these. Richard, do you want to start us off with your first hot take?
Sure, I can. I don't know how much of this one's a real hot take, but I'm just going to start with it. Universe 6 is just a weak version of Universe 7. I mean, besides Hit, every single one of them seems to be a weaker version of someone else in the universe. They
Go ahead.
lose, yeah, and I guess because they're mirror universes, I guess, of each other. The Saiyans are there, the Mechians. I guess, they had humans, but that planet was destroyed. Beerus and Champa are mirror images of each other. It just, and it's implied that, I mean, besides Hit being the strongest in his universe and actually injuring and killing Goku at one point, there's no one else really that seems to be able to compete at their same level.
To be fair, they're going up against the strongest people. It's Kefla, it's Caulifla and Kale versus Goku. It's Kaba versus Vegeta. If it's any of those characters against Piccolo, I don't know. Well, before Piccolo's giant power up, they're still relatively strong. But it's also a case of the three main people in Dragon Ball being just way stronger than everybody else.
True. But I don't know, even like if like because the Namekians even seem to be just kind of there. They're not as powerful as Piccolo seems to be, and I don't know. Even some of the other universes seem to be stronger who don't have what are supposed to be like the ultimate warrior race and these guru fighting monks that are the Namekians and that sort of thing.
Yeah, true. At the same time, though, I guess for me the thing is what we it feels like even with the tournament we had, we got so little with them. And it's also the idea that like it's gonna sound weird, but like Goku, Vegeta, and the others train because their lives are always in peril. Universe 6, by comparison, they seem like things are going kind of well for them. So what's the point in them going as hard training as the others? But that just might be a headcanon more than anything.
True. And then with the Destroyer Gods, while they are brothers, from my understanding in the manga of Dragon Ball, Beerus is considered the strongest, if not, he's either among the strongest or is the strongest of the Destroyer Gods because he took on several of the other gods by himself in that at the
That
start.
that is actually true. I've been doing more research on the manga, and apparently that's correct.
So, I mean, that's just another one that's like, wow, he's just that much stronger than like everybody else.
Yeah, but in some cases, though, I think that's more of a problem with Universe 7 than the others, because let's not forget who won the Tournament of Power. It was 7. Everybody else got eliminated.
Yeah, and I guess part of me is this comes from the fact that Universe 6 wasn't because they were eliminated not I mean towards the end, but not there were what two or three other universes
Yeah,
still
that's right.
right.
They weren't the first two. They weren't the first universes eliminated, though.
Yeah, but they weren't. like they were kind of right in the middle, which I guess what throws me off because they're supposed to be so similar to Universe 7. So it's like they should be like it should be them, Universe 6 or Universe 7, and then it's 11, right? Is that Jiren's universe?
Yeah.
Yeah, those should be like the final three based on how they've developed the story. But
Yeah. That then again, to kind of help your point a little bit, Hit did lose to Monaka, so that didn't help it. That didn't help.
well, Monaka's just he's like multiverse destroying. So
Yeah, I like here's the thing. Part of me agrees to an extent, but part of me still really likes Universe 6. Like it's like I've said before, even if you're not the most developed or the strongest, they're all still, in my opinion, they're at least likable. They're at least like if I was stuck hanging out with them, I don't think I'd be miserable.
I I think, and again, this isn't that I don't like them. I think I was hoping for more from them because I was hoping for a Universe 6 arc where Vegeta goes and finds Planet Sadala with his his name is
Kappa.
Kaba. Yeah. So just there was potential there, and again, I think the manga is still ongoing, or have they officially ended it?
No, it's still going.
So there's still a chance that they'll go to Universe 6 and have this big arc where they get to learn more about Saiyan culture. Because I know that in the manga we got to know more about Universe 7 Saiyans because we get stuff with Bardock in it again.
Yeah, but like I said, I agree, but I also kind of disagree in a sense because I think for what we were given, because in an instance where it's like, oh, turns out there are even more Saiyans when they're most to be extinct, they could have done a lot worse. But I do agree in some cases, like more would have been better.
Yeah, and again, I think also part of me is like it doesn't seem to be their power-ups don't seem to be as emotionally required by
I
comparison to Universe 7.
I hate to cut you off, but I do have a point about that later.
Okay. So I guess your first century?
Ah, well, you start off with it. I guess a pretty understandable one. I'm gonna rip off one of the big ones I have. I like the Buu Saga more than the Cell Saga.
Okay, this was one of the ones I had in my head.
Okay, so look, I understand that the Cell arc has some incredible moments. Goku sacrifice, Gohan powering up. It has a lot of stuff to it, and the Buu Saga in some cases may not have that, but the Buu Saga also has a lot of cool stuff. Goku powering up to Super Saiyan 3, Goku reuniting with his friends and family for the first time in 7 years, Vegeta sacrifice, Vegeta. Oh, it has a lot going on to it, and in my opinion, while it's not, like in some cases the Buu Saga isn't as iconic. Look, we've talked about it. As much as I love the Cell Saga, there are a lot of times where mistakes are made throughout it. Goku and the Sensu Bean, Vegeta not finishing off Cell, Krillin not destroying Android 18. I'm still no, I'll never get over that. And in some cases it works really well because it's like, well, this makes sense for these characters, but there are mistakes made in the Cell arc that legitimately kind of make me go, wow, I'm enjoying this arc a little bit less. Plus, just for me personally, the levels in the video games where you go up in the Buu Saga were always just more fun for me than the Cell Saga. Still love the Cell Saga, but and I know everybody else does and it's their favorite. But for me, the Buu Saga just I don't know, something about it just feels more fun. Maybe it's biased because at the end of it Goku comes back permanently.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a mistake to get rid of Goku because I think that was because originally that was supposed to be the ending of the Dragon Ball Z part of the story. It was supposed to end with Gohan taking up the reins of his father, and that's the end. But
Something like that.
then they, but then I don't know, somewhere along the line they decided to continue, whether it was Akira Toriyama or his people, and he had to bring Goku back because like 16 chapters later we find out Gohan doesn't have the same motivations as Goku, which makes him not as much fun to follow.
Yeah, and it's always weird hearing whose ideas were what. Apparently, Kishimoto, when he was writing Naruto, apparently he wanted Haku to be a bear, but his editor said, "Yeah, no, don't do that." I think they made the right call.
Yeah, this is it. This one, I don't know. I think he had more fun with the Buu Saga. There's a lot more seriousness feel to with the so a lot of Dragon Ball's comedy kind of falls out in the Cell Saga. There's a few moments, but I think back and I really enjoy like Gohan in high school being that awkward guy that was raised in the mountains and saved the world, and now he's trying to like actually make friends and be a kid for a few minutes.
Yeah, a blonde girl immediately falls for him, and then there's the tsundere who picks on him, and of course he picks the tsundere. Gohan, I think you picked the wrong girl, honestly.
But then even like still, even when we get further on though, we get when Boo's resurrected, we still get those comedic moments of this childlike being that has the ability to destroy everything.
Yeah, and even Hercule when he's like, "Hey, maybe you should stop killing people," and Boo's like, "Oh, okay, sure, I'll do it." And I don't know, it redeemed Hercule, and like we both talked about, we didn't like Hercule all that much, but and that helped. Look, I'm not saying the Boo arc is perfect. I don't think any arc in Dragon Ball or any anime is necessarily perfect. But for me, even as a kid, I just enjoyed the Buu Saga more, just for a good amount of reasons. I still love the Cell Saga, but I get more excited to hear about the Buu Saga.
I do too, and I think it's just because of all of the story elements in it.
Yeah. Oh boy, but that was I have a couple of big ones, but that was probably the hottest one.
Yeah. All right, so my next one, I enjoy Dragon Ball GT. It's is it the best Dragon Ball's ever been? No, but it's fun, and I think a lot of the hate comes from early part of GT's pan. She was a lot. She was supposed to be, I guess, the feisty tomboy style and wanting to uh, be a Z fighter and all that, but still being that young kid who, and they play that up a lot during the first part of the series, but it kind of dies down a little bit more. She seems to mature a little bit as the series goes on. She still makes mistakes, but she's a kid. Every kid makes mistakes. So again, I like GT. It has good stories. I really like the final battles in the baby arc, and I like the I guess it's Awakening the Dragon part of it, or the
The
Dark Dragon
Omega
arc.
Shenron arc?
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, it's kind of odd that Omega Shenron said, "Oh, hey guys, the reason I'm here is because you guys keep abusing the Dragon Ball's powers." And they say, "No, that's not true." And then I look at Super and it's like, "Huh, what's Bulma wishing for? Eyelash extent. Okay, cool, cool. Shenron, maybe this is the series you should be popping up in."
Exactly. But it has really good moments. Yes, there are some moments that are even more comedic than they probably should be. I think of the Para brothers,
I can't defend
but
that.
yeah. But comparison, it's got its good moments, especially those final arcs, and you get Super 17 in is that the movie? I can't remember. It's been a long time since I've seen all of GT, but you get some really interesting bad guys that get to fight and stuff. It will it ever be canon again? I don't think so, because it's kind of its own thing, and like different aspects of the story have gone away.
I think certain editors have said like, "Hey, GT is probably the next step after Super," but if that's the case, then GT needs a remake because you can't just throw you would have to do some work. Or plus, you can't just act like Super didn't happen because it's a pretty big part of the story.
And it's ongoing technically. So I would put Super Dragon Ball GT as kind of one of those multiverse things that we've kind of started learning about through Heroes and stuff, where they're like different elements. It's one potential timeline that occurred.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I don't hate GT. I don't think GT Here's the thing. I would probably still say GT is probably my least favorite, but I don't think it's hatred. I don't even think it's disliking. I just think it's kind of I have to be in the mood. If you were going to tell me let's rewatch Dragon Ball GT, I would really have to be in the mood for it. But I'd enjoy it.
I think a lot of it is, as I said, that early Pan stuff. She's such a main character in the series, but she's that kind of 90s kid depiction, tomboy, believes she knows better than the adults around her, all this stuff. And then um, she makes the mistakes and isn't willing to open up to him at first. So lots of little kind of 90s cliches, I think, with her throw a lot of people off at the start of the series.
Well, also Goku being transformed back into a kid didn't really help.
Has anyone watched Daima yet?
I we'll talk about Daima another day because I'm not that far into it.
Okay.
But I can co-sign GT's not as bad as people give it. But I'm just gonna somewhat contradict myself with my next hot take.
Okay.
The discourse between what's better, GT or Super, just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I agree.
Look. I've said before. I just got done saying that GT had some good moments, but also had some flaws. I didn't like Pan at first. I didn't like Kid Goku. There were some characters who I just really weren't into. And Super's the same way. Super has its flaws. Super has some pacing stuff, but it also has some really hype moments. Like the Tournament of Power, we were watching every single week as it was coming out. And the fact that people like I watched a review of Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, like I want to say the day before it came out, and the person ended the review by saying, "Hey, thanks so much, guys, for subscribing. Oh, by the way, GT's better than Super. Bye." I'm like, I don't know. It just seemed like I think both series are just so much more. They're more alike than they seem. We get new Super Saiyan forms that are pretty awesome. You get some different types of fights. You get some really bad stuff in some cases, but I don't know. I don't know. I personally am sick of the argument of what's better, GT or Super, especially considering the funny thing is they're both kind of fighting for third place because Dragon Ball is a classic and Dragon Ball Z is fantastic. So it's kind of like you arguing over which one's better kind of just makes you look silly because nobody ever says GT's my favorite or even Super's my favorite, which would be perfectly fine. But just the whole discourse between GT versus Super is just it's just stupid to me.
Yeah, I can kind of agree to that. I prefer Super over GT overall, but again, I like GT as well. It can be a slog to get through, especially that first part of that series when they're trying to track down the Dragon Balls through space and you get like a different planet every two episodes and stuff. But overall, I I would watch Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball itself before I'd probably sit down and binge one of the other series.
Yeah. And heck, even and Super has some stuff. Like nobody a lot of people didn't really seem to like the ending of the Trunks and Goku Black Arc. I thought it was fine personally. Really, a lot of people don't like that Goku's intelligence has seemed to take a step back, which I can also agree with. I guess to me the thing is they're both just two series that are really good and really bad in some areas. So why are we always trying to pit one against each? Like it seems like once again, it makes it all the more silly that nobody's saying, I think Super's the best series or I think GT's the best series. It's just Super's better than GT or GT's better than Super. I'm like, you all sound ridiculous. You all sound ridiculous.
Yeah, I neither series again are none of the series are perfect, but these two are again, as you said, fighting for third place out of everything.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you call that I'm gonna try and say this in the nicest way possible, but I feel like a lot of people don't like Super as much because Team Four Star have come out and said that Super's not their favorite, which is they're entitled to their opinion, but you don't have to shape how you feel about a series just because somebody else said it. I love Team Four Star, but I also love Dragon Ball Super. It's okay.
Exactly. All right. So my next one,
Please.
adding tights to Dragon Ball Super made zero sense.
I'm sorry.
Adding tights to Dragon Ball Super made no sense.
Oh,
Bulma's
no,
older sister.
I'm sorry. I thought you meant like literal tights, like you wear. I'm like, what the fuck? Sure, go ahead. I kind of forgot about her.
Yeah, again, some people I've been told actually like the idea of Bulma having an older sister, but it's like, where was she throughout the entire series? Why wasn't she even mentioned? It's like, oh, and she's been traveling the universe with Galactic Patrol Jocko. It's like, okay, then why didn't if you knew this, why didn't you call her when you'd say you need to get to Namek? Because I'm assuming that's when you would have she would have been traveling.
Yeah.
We'll,
I mean, maybe she's friends with Launch. Maybe that's why.
we'll get to launch later, but
Oh dear. But yeah, I mean, I don't have an opinion on Tights because I've like you could kind of just tell. I kind of forgot she existed. I went back and even rewatched about a week ago, and I'm like, oh right, Bulma has a sister. Like her involvement doesn't help or hurt the show for me, so I can't really say one way or the other.
yeah. And you kind of say the same thing about what's his name? Tarball,
Eh,
Vegeta's younger brother,
eh.
because that's just a special, and
I actually really like that special. I'm not gonna lie.
I do too. I just wish that Tarball got more than just a name drop in Super, like because they literally say, "Hey, what about Tarball? Oh, he's on another planet and he's weak as everything." So they just kind of move on from him.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have an opinion on Bulma's sister. Look. If we got more with her, I guess I'd be okay with it. But if we never saw her again, I don't think I would complain.
Yeah, I just said she just makes no sense. But I've heard some people really like the idea of Bulma having a sister. It's like that's great, but like need more story. Like at least tell us like what where she was in during certain things. Like oh, she was on a secret mission with Jocko and during the uh, Namek arc, so that they could explain why she couldn't contact them or wasn't responding to Bulma or something.
Yeah. Well, then again, the people are asking for more for Pan's preschool teacher, specifically her and Piccolo. So people are gonna be saying weird stuff anyway.
Very true.
That being said, is Bulma's sister single or
I don't know. Is she dating Jocko?
I don't think so.
Okay, then maybe
I don't know, but I guess I can. I can't co-sign and I can't not co-sign. I don't think about Bulma's sister all that often.
you're right in the middle. All right, so
Yeah,
your next one.
I'm right in the middle. Okay, here we go. Goku and Chi-Chi's relationship in Super has actually improved a lot. Okay, let's think. One of Chi-Chi's biggest gripes with Goku is that he doesn't work, and they have to rely on on Chi-Chi's dad's money. But in Super, Goku's working regularly. He's training, and I don't know. You just get a sense that they care about each other more, especially in the more filler-centric episodes. But I especially like how in the Tournament of Power, Goku tells everybody, and Chi-Chi's like, "You guys need to go. You guys need to train." What? But you're always talking about, well, guys, if you don't train and you lose, none of this matters anyway. Hey, in one of the first episodes when Hercule gives Goku a lot of money, she straight up tells him, "Oh, you want to train? Yeah, go ahead, train. I don't care. Here, we have the money. We're good." There's a shift in their dynamic that feels a lot more that kind of feels sweet in Super. It's still not perfect, but it would be super boring if it was perfect, pun somewhat intended. But I don't know, I just feel like nobody really gives their relationship credit for building in Super.
I can co-sign. I think I didn't even think about this one that much because it does improve. Because thinking back on it, Chi-Chi was mm, I don't know because how to put it, not necessarily the best partner, and neither was Goku in the
No.
especially when he's like, I could have come back to life, but I chose not to because I don't care about my son and I guess now unborn son at this point.
In his defense, he was right about the whole people keep coming back for me. People keep coming back to try to kill me, and everybody else is involved. So that's why I'm going to stay dead. It's not great reasoning, but there is a reasoning to it.
Yeah, it's one of those like, okay, well, Gohan is still a teenager. You need to make sure that he's actually training because by the time of the Buu Saga, he's not as it's hinted that he's not as strong as he was at the end of the Cell Saga because he
So
let
technically,
himself.
Goku was right.
Yeah,
Figures.
I think Goku's really got like the highest intelligence of anyone on the show and just hides it like the best.
Well, there is that comic about him doing taxes for the family, but it's like, don't tell your mother I do this. But in all seriousness, I just think their relationship is a lot sweeter. And like you do see them, like if they're on the couch, they'll be lying on each other. Like go, and he's a lot. They're a lot more courteous to each other. And I just don't think it gets brought up because everyone's like, oh, go, oh, their relationship sucks. Like no, their relationships progress. Their relationship is clearly progressing, and they do. Remember, and this isn't super, but at the end of the Buu Saga, Goku does tell her that he loves her. Like it's clearly they're clearly getting better. Not
Mhm.
perfect, but better.
And that's, I think, what a good relationship overall is. I mean, not the starting of theirs, but like always trying to improve and grow. A relationship is an important part. So,
Yeah. And remember one of my all-time favorite moments when he learns that an alternate version of Chi-Chi and Goten were killed. Remember, an alternate version that he was probably never going to meet. He snaps at Zamasu and Goku Black. Heck, and he's it's not like, oh, I'll stop you or oh, I'll help you see the error of your ways. It's no, I will destroy you for what you did to my family. It's a part of Super that doesn't get talked about enough.
all right. So, my turn. This one might cause me a little flack, but I think Fusion has just as many failures as the Spirit Bomb does.
Is that a take or is that just a fact?
I don't know. While doing research for this, so many people were like, "Oh my God, Fusion is such an amazing power!" Like, because there was a lot of talk between Fusion and the Super Saiyan God and stuff. And I'm thinking it's succeeded like once at holding someone off, and then it still falls apart before the end of the fight. I don't think any Fusion has ever finished a battle and won.
Well, let's
Maybe in
see.
like one of the specials or movies, but
Let's see. Let's see. Broly, technically that's fusion.
that was mostly just holding Broly back at that point.
Doesn't Cell in the androids, doesn't that technically count as fusion?
I was counting more of like the ones where it's where they people choose to fuse
Okay,
versus
well
not
then
being
then
absorbed.
well then I guess technically Piccolo doesn't Piccolo counts, but that he never won after that.
Yeah, and I'm thinking because uh Vegito was going to win. That's Vegito, right?
Yeah,
Is the one in
Vegito.
the Buu
It's heavily
Saga.
implied that Vegito could have destroyed Buu if he wanted to.
Yeah, but then he gets turned into a cookie eaten. They defuse in him, and then they fail by actually turning him into the ultimate version of Boo and Kid
E-
Boo.
even though technically Buu with all those people absorbed was actually stronger, but and to be fair, Vegito, they even revealed that Vegito did that on purpose because they wanted to because he wanted to save everybody inside Boo.
Yeah, Gotenks became comedic though. It's like I don't know.
I like I said, I hate Gotenks. I don't like Gotenks anymore.
Yeah, so just fusion, in my opinion, is just one of those like, oh, we're going to use this as a placeholder for a few episodes until someone actually steps up and fights individually and wins this, huh?
I
Huh?
mean, to be fair,
Huh?
the Spirit Bomb works once, doesn't it?
Yeah. So does fusion, I think.
Yeah. I think to me the concept. I think to me for the concept of fusion is more interesting than the concept of the spirit bomb because the spirit bomb is just here, give me your energy. In fusion, it's every you have to be in sync, and technically there was a video game about called Dragon Ball Fusions. I don't remember the video game Dragon Ball Spirit Bomb.
Yeah. I get it's not that I don't like fusions because I do find them really entertaining. It's just everybody who hypes them up is like the ultimate technique. You're gonna win because it multiplies like it combines your power and then multiplies that by 3, 10, 15, whatever. It's like that's great, but the time or the oh, you don't get along well enough, so you're out of sync. I don't know. Stuff just there always seems to be something that goes wrong with fusion.
At least they're protected losses. Like it almost never seems to be, oh, the fusion isn't strong enough. It's always the fusion runs out, or the person fused gets cocky or something like that. So they seem to try to protect it. But I do feel like in some cases maybe a fusion should just work and win.
Yeah, it'd be really. I think that would be yeah, fusion a bit just more oomph of like have someone who is really strong, who's better than Goku and Vegeta, whatever their current level is at this story, and then have them fuse, and it's like a knockout brawl. They win in like a matter like just they could do the Dragon Fist and win, be
Yeah.
over.
I mean, there was a level in the video game where you played as Gogeta at the end of Goku's story and you fought Gotenks to end it, but that's not canon. That's technically just Fusion beating itself, so I don't know if that counts.
But yeah, Fusion, I just think it's not as successful as a lot of people have given it credit for. So
Unfortunately, I have to agree, and now I'm just sad.
again, it's not a bad concept. I really enjoy it in the story, but hopefully it gets its moment to shine soon.
Hopefully so. And maybe Xenoverse will help. But my next one,
Yes.
the Universe 6 Saiyans getting their transformation so easily actually makes a bit of sense.
Okay.
All right, I'm not excusing the back tingle bull crap. Like, I'm not. I promise you, I'm not excusing that. But to me, like, it just seems weird that people give them a hard time. It's like, oh, why is Kappa able to like Kappa was practically traumatized by Vegeta trying to bring it out of him, and that's how he learned it. And he got helped with Vegeta from it. And he trained Kale and Caulifla on it. And it makes sense to me. Like, because as we've learned, like, if you learn something on your own, or if you're the first person to learn something, it's ridiculously difficult. But once you start spreading it out and teaching it to other people, it makes a lot more sense. And people give this a hard time, but nobody gives Trunks and Goten a hard time for becoming Super Saiyans at like age 6, 7, or 8, or whatever it's supposed to be. And the thing is, it's they're not mastering Super Saiyan. They're still getting their butts kicked. They're still working on it, and they're still trying to get better at it. It makes sense to me that they're able to learn it but not master it. Like, and that's the key distinction. Congrats, you're a Super Saiyan, but there's more to it than that, and I think it's done really well. I don't think they learn it. I don't think it's an unearned power up, as some people would say.
Yeah, I mean, because if you're complaining about how the Universe 6 Saiyans get their power, then you need to complain about how Trunks and Goten get theirs. Because,
Exactly.
I mean, everybody else trained or had that emotional moment. I don't remember what Trunks's version was, but I know Goten's was he got hit in the face by his mom while training, and he went Super Saiyan after that.
I've been reprimanded by my mom before. I don't think I've ever gone Super Saiyan because of it.
Yeah, so I don't know like if there's something else that I'm missing on that, or if and then with Trunks again, do they even say how the first
I
time he
don't
went? It's just
recall. Oh, now if you ask Future Trunks, it was the death of Future Gohan, and that makes absolute sense. But Kid Trunks, they just never explained it.
yeah, again, they're two separate characters. Nobody can tell me otherwise because Kid Trunks is so much more full of himself than Future Trunks ever is.
Yeah, yeah. But just I just don't. For me, it just kind of like look, I understand in some cases why people could be upset, but but like I said, it's very much it even kind of helps Vegeta's character in a sense because he's showing that he's a good teacher because he's passing on his knowledge to other people and they're passing it on to other people. Now, once again, I'm not defending the back tingle in the slightest, but you could also argue maybe Kappa just finds ways of teaching people stuff, no matter how stupid it is.
Yeah, if it would have even just been better had he said like, okay, take your key and bottle it up in your stomach, and then when it gets to be at this point where you start feeling like you can't hold it anymore, gently let it out all throughout your body, and then your energy float will open up some way. At least that way makes kind of some sense in the idea of chakra or energy or something in the body.
To be fair, he was explaining it to Caulifla. Do you think she'd pick up half of those words you were saying just now?
No.
Yeah, but like I said, I just don't. I think the term unearned power up doesn't apply here. I think it makes sense. I think it makes sense that they became Super Saiyans because remember, they're learning it, not mastering it.
All right. So my first honorable mention,
Yes.
the angels are wasted characters, except for Whis, because there's so much implied during the Tournament of Power, and that is what throws me off. Is that again, I think I remember having discussions about thinking that the Angels are gonna turn out to be like the big bad at the end of the Tournament of Power. They're plotting something, and the Grand Priest is as their father is like the mastermind. Because you see the universes vanish, and sometimes they cut to the Angels, and all of a sudden you see them smirk.
I
It's
believe that was Universe 9.
I
That was
think
like
so.
it was the first universe that was eliminated, and that showed the angel smiling about it.
Yeah, so stuff like that. It's like there's little hints dropped that it's like there's something else going on here, and the Angels survive when the universe is destroyed. They just stay standing there.
Maybe
And it's what
maybe everybody in that section was just farting it up, and he was just glad they were gone.
possibly, but again, I really thought that something. And again, maybe this isn't a hot take because I guess some people maybe they do more in the manga, but I don't know.
Not from what I've heard.
It feels like that they have such potential to have been like bad guys, especially with how it's depicted that Whis can fight both powered up Goku and Vegeta at the same time and not even really break a sweat. He'll have his arm behind his back with his stick hand, and that's it. So I don't know. Just overall, I wish the Angels had done more. And again, maybe there's another arc coming where they end up as the bad guys or as having some sort of plot that they're part of or something. But I'm waiting for that still.
Yeah. That being said, I do love Whis. I would actually say Whis has been one of my favorite characters in the past several years. Because just slight like I do like how when Goku starts learning Ultra Instinct in the Tournament of Power, Whis is excited. Whis is proud of his student. He's so happy. I don't know. It's stuff like that. I still have hope in some cases, and I even kind of like Vados.
As I said, by comparison, I'm leaving Whis out of this. I'm talking about like all the others because the others usually get like one or two lines here and there, except for Vados, who gets more because she's in the Universe 6 versus Universe 7 arc. But
And the baseball episode.
true. But all the others get like one or two lines when they're talking either to their gods of destruction before the tournament of power or during the fight and stuff, and that's it.
Is Vados single?
All yours, buddy.
I know I wasn't talking for me. I was talking. I don't know. I'm sure somebody has a fanfic character they want to make for her.
All right. So your first honorable mention?
All right, you brought up Bulma's sister, but I'm gonna do one that's probably gonna hurt people more. I don't need to see more of Raditz.
Okay.
Look, I'm not saying Raditz is a horrible character, but I feel like he kind of just served his purpose. It's because in some cases, I'm going to be honest, you probably could have left out the part of him being Goku's brother, because outside of the shock of Goku having a family, it doesn't really do much of anything. Hey, I don't know. I never thought. A lot of people have said, "Oh, I wanted Raditz to live longer or Raditz to come back or something like that," and respect to you guys for that, but just I don't know. Oh, out of all the villains and characters who I'd like to get more from, Raditz isn't really one of them. Raditz is just kind of somebody who, in some cases, I kind of just forget about him.
I mean, I see his potential through like a lot of fan fiction with him, but I can also see why you feel that way because he's only in what 3 episodes.
Something like that.
It's like he's comes and find like the first one's he crashes on the planet trying and starts searching for Goku. Second one he's finds Goku at like the Turtle Hermit house and steals Gohan, and that's the end of the episode. And then the next one's him and is Goku and Piccolo fighting him,
Yeah. I don't know.
and he's dead.
Just by comparison to other Saiyans, well, like just compared to other Saiyans, like even somebody like Turles, who was very similar in the realm of, oh, I don't have to train, but I have the tree of might. Hey, but he did have a classiness to him and his personality that I kind of found like, well, maybe if Turles, I would hate seeing Turles again. But just compared to every other character, I'm just like, Raditz just doesn't make Raditz doesn't interest me like he does everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, eh, maybe if we had gotten more originally, like if he had survived, fled, and that's how Vegeta and Nappa found out was that, and we learn like whether they let him live or Vegeta kills him at that point. I don't know. There's
Yeah, he seems like the black sheep in his family because he doesn't seem that similar to Bardock or Gina. He just kind of seems different.
and if he's, I mean, it's implied that he's, I guess, a high class warrior, but he's is he? Because
No, not really. Remember, Nappa even said, "Oh, we could use the Dragon Balls to bring back Raditz," and Vegeta says, "Why?"
I know that's why I'm so confused because what? How is he on the same squad? Because it's implied in the Dragon Ball Z Broly movie that is on the squad because of his skill, but his skill level is like way below the others, and it's even funny because it's like we can grow Raditzes in
It's
Cybermen.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing. Say what you want about what happens afterwards, but Yamcha is able to beat one of them. So I'm like, okay, if the guy who's about to become a giant meme, aim for how weak he is able to beat this somebody as strong as Raditz, what are we doing?
Yeah, which I guess brings up my next one.
Go ahead, fine, forget, go, go.
Yamcha's not weak, in all honesty. Yes, by comparison to the other Z fighters, he's weak. But people keep thinking it's like, oh, I could beat up Yamcha. No, you can't. He's superhuman, and he's like the. Let's see. I was counting it earlier. So it's probably Tien and Krillin are one and two, Roshi, and then Yamcha in the level of human strength in the entire universe, or in that on the planet for humans. He's number four. He's the fourth strongest human, most likely, on the planet.
Yeah, yeah, and this one's gonna hurt. This one's gonna hurt because I love Yamcha. I to this day I still don't fully know what it is, but just I just to me, and that's the thing that people kind of overlook. Remember, he stepped up and said, "Hey, Krillin, I'll fight these things because if you die, we can't bring you back. I'll handle this." And then they ruin him, and then they ruin him multiple times.
Yeah, I mean, I think the issue is that he gets so beat down throughout Dragon Ball Z. So again, he's killed in a meme way where the Cybermen that he's pretty much beaten suicides on him and kills him. He then comes back to life where Bulma decides to dump him, accusing him of cheating, and then goes on to fall in love with a guy who pretty much killed him by growing these things.
Yeah, I don't believe the whole Yamcha cheated because it just doesn't make sense. Because in Dragon Ball, he was like, "Oh, I just want to find a wife," and even nowadays, he's like, "I want to find a wife." Meanwhile, Bulma's the girl who seems to fall in love at the drop of a hat. I'm more convinced that she was doing more of the adultery than he was, which makes I hope that's not true because I want to like Bulma, but that I don't know.
Yeah. And then he gets a fist through the chest by one of the like weaker androids.
Yeah,
But
and
the
he
android
did.
who's oh, go ahead.
An android who knew everything about him and his friends, and he did so. He came down there because he was trying to save people.
Yeah. Yamcha is yes, he is not among the strongest Z fighters. He's probably the weakest or second weakest if you count Chatsu. But he's still a Z fighter. He can still fight off multiple threats. I mean, is was he part of the group that was fight? No, he wasn't. Never mind. I was thinking he
No,
was part
but
of the
he
fight that
was
fought for.
part of the group of people who fought off the Ginyu for or on King Kai's planet, and Vegeta couldn't even do that.
So there's just people need to give Yamcha a break. He is not. He will never be the strongest Z fighter unless it's on the baseball field,
He
and that's
was
just
the
because
first person to slap Lord Beerus, though.
yeah. But he is strong, and people need to understand that yes, he is still a superhuman monster pretty much on this planet.
Yeah, and in Super Dragon Ball Heroes, which is just another alternate universe, there is an alien girl who falls in love with him, so that's pretty cool.
So yeah, that's why I wanted to do that one because you brought up Yamcha because it was just like it bit at that point.
I still wanted to see him in the Tournament of Power when he was teasing it. It wouldn't have done much, but I still would have wanted to see it.
But that could have given him his moment. He could have been on par with some of these like the Wolfmen. Imagine if he had gone up against him with his Wolf Fang fist and actually won.
Yeah, and heck, they're like, hey, you know those techniques we were using on you? You use them. And it's like, what? Use them. And that could have given him something more to work with. He didn't have to master it in the tournament, but just yeah, I get what you mean though.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of understood why they picked Roshi. Roshi, they were doing the whole emotional thing, but then they didn't actually kill him off. So there you go.
I'll talk about that more with my last one.
Okay.
All right, so my next
So
one.
next honorable mention. Yep.
Oh gosh, I'm having a hard time because I have a couple of extra and I like all of them, but let's see. Dragon Ball Z makes complicated characters better than most anime.
Okay.
All right, so a lot of people give Dragon Ball Z and just Dragon Ball in general a hard time because they feel like it's simple, and while it is, it's also kind of consistent with how its characters are. Because look, you what would you say your favorite character is Vegeta?
Um, Character, yes, I would say. I think I really like Vegeta.
Okay, and yeah, Vegeta's done a lot to reprimand all the bad stuff he's done, but like he messes up. Like we talk about, he decides to let Cell absorb Android 18 when he shouldn't have. He lets Babidi get inside his head, and those were all stupid decisions. But what makes them so compelling is that they work in Vegeta's character. He's cocky, he's arrogant, he thinks he's the best, and then he pays for it. Which means when he grows, it makes it all the more compelling. Goku giving Cell a senzu bean and assuming that Gohan loves fighting just like him. It's a giant mistake, but he realizes through it, wow, I don't understand Gohan that well. And even down the line, when Gohan still wants to study, he lets him and he encourages it. Is it? Bulma is the smartest woman in the world and is still a superficial person at times, but it's consistent. And nobody really gives them credit. People just say, "Oh, Goku's a bad character because he does this. Vegeta's a bad character. Krillin, Piccolo does." No, that's what makes compelling characters. Characters who can do good things and bad things. A lot of anime nowadays portray characters as just these perfect people who don't do much of anything wrong. And while to some people that's interesting, to me, I like characters who make mistakes and who try to learn from it. And I think Dragon Ball Z especially, does that better than a lot of shows, and that's why I enjoy it so much.
I can agree. I hadn't thought about that, but you're right that they do have such growth and but they make the mistakes that fit their characters. They do a good job of not uh having Goku be the one who knows all about something that isn't a fighting technique. If it's a fighting technique, Goku can be the one who knows what it is. But if it's something like science related, he goes, "Oh, is that doohickey thing?" And it tells you that they're over there, and he doesn't understand it. He explains it very poorly.
Yeah, heck, it even kind of applies to Frieza because in the Broly movie, one of his henchmen's like, "Oh, you're going to use the Dragon Balls to make sure you never take damage again." And all honesty, that would be incredibly smart. But part of Frieza's growth is realizing the fun he has is with good fights and training. He's becoming a warrior, so he straight up says, "Why would I want to wish for no damage? That makes the battle way too easy." And then he says he wants to wish to grow 5 centimeters. I'll say it again. I still don't know if he was joking or not.
Yeah, I don't really know.
But just, I don't know. Well, and in some cases it doesn't work. Like I think, and look. Just I've clowned about it before, but in all seriousness, that kind of is my problem with Krillin sparing 18 because people say, "Oh, Krillin's a monk, so he doesn't like killing people." I'm like, yeah, but he legitimately says he couldn't do it because he loved her. That's not really. That's why it felt kind of out of character for me. But like I said, the mistakes the characters make are in character, and that's what I think makes the mistakes so brilliant. Frustrating, yes, but they're still brilliant.
Yeah, that's very true. Um is the yeah the characters can be so frustrating because they will make the same mistakes. As you said, Vegeta makes the same mistakes over and over again, but that's because every time he reaches a new level, he thinks that only him and Goku are really on that level, and then lets his pride, his arrogance take over, and then someone has to slap him into the ground to convince him otherwise.
Yeah, and then in the Tournament of Power, where he's like, yeah, I have my pride, I have my arrogance, but that's what makes me. And that's such a brilliant moment because he's like, I can be a better version of myself while still being myself. And I think that's so cool.
Yeah, I'll co-sign. I think now that I think about it, it does a really good job by comparison to a lot of animes where they just kind of have one-dimensional characters.
Yeah. And even when they make mistakes, it's just kind of like, huh, this doesn't seem like you. This does you know this what happened to the Cheeto gay I know and well, don't love, but just yeah, you understand what I mean.
Yeah, the one I'm thinking of is like, especially it happens a lot in Naruto filler. Now that I think about it, with like Neji having the one that comes to mind is Neji having a couple of comedic parts in some filler arcs in this original series, and it being like that's not who he is. What? Why is?
Yeah, and even what they like, and here's the thing: him being a slightly more comedic character and having some funny moments is cool. But when you completely change who he is, just that you can understand the characters of Dragon Ball Z don't change in the craziest ways imaginable. But once again, that's not a bad thing,
Yeah, they show usually more like slow growth
right?
versus like a sudden change in character.
Yeah, but that's my hot take. I'm like that. I meant that to be an honorable mention, but honestly, I could have saved that for the end.
Yeah, I like that one. All right. Um, now this one again is an honorable mention 'cause people may agree with me, but I really enjoy the DBZ, especially the early one, villains.
Okay.
I think a lot of people think when you think of an anime movie, especially this era, they're bad guys, a forgettable one off. I vividly remember. I mean, you talked about Turtles, Lord Slug, even Garlic Jr. I'm not the biggest fan of him, but I still remember him. I just think they have some really good villains. I mean, I think of Cooler, even Cooler when he comes back in Cooler's Revenge. And I mean, even though Broly's the original version of Broly has got a really stupid backstory because Goku cried in the chamber next to him, he's still memorable because he was strong enough to kick Super Saiyan butt at this point and be this monster, and he's supposed to be the same species as the rest of them.
Yeah, I can agree. Look, even though Jiren's not technically a villain, I can understand why people prefer other earlier villains. Even though, like I said, I still like Jiren. I still he's wasn't done perfectly, but I still do enjoy Jiren.
Yeah, I think that's one problem with um Super is that there's really only one arc that has a villain, and that's the Black the Goku Black arc. All the others they have this like even Beerus is kind of like he's not going to be a villain very long.
I still would honestly, I would still like if he was more of a villain, but that's just me.
Like go into like he doesn't go to Earth, but you know that he's always there watching kind of thing.
Yeah. But
So,
I do agree though. Like I said, I even look as somebody who clowned Raditz earlier. I've said before that I really like Zarbon. Once again, I still don't really know why, but there's something memorable about him. The Doria, not maybe not so much.
but again, the movies just, especially those the first like 5, 6 DBZ movies, I really enjoy their villains just because they're memorable. I
Yeah.
can vividly, and I know just sitting here, I know, having not watched them in years, I can remember what most of their goals were.
Yeah, I didn't care for Harudagon as much though. It wasn't my favorite, and it's especially sad considering it's pretty much Goku Super Saiyan 3 Goku's one and only win.
Again, the later ones start getting into that more modern Dragon Ball feel, which is why I'm talking about like up through the first Broly movie. After that, they kind of start blending together, fortunately
Yeah,
for
we're
me.
not going to talk about Bio Broly. Bio Broly just makes me sad.
I think it makes most people sad.
I did see a couple people who said their hot take was they do like Bio Broly, and if so, then I'm happy that they're able to enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, to each their own.
Sure. But I do agree. So, like, I do think that it also kind of reflects on Super because Super could have used some better villains.
Yeah, again, the only real villain I can think of is Zametsu. I mean, Frieza
Yeah,
a little bit, but because mostly Zametsu is the main bad
yeah,
guy.
and technically Frieza was from Dragon Ball Z, so that kind of doesn't count.
Yeah. So, all right. So your last honorable mention?
All right, I have a couple extra, but maybe we can save them for another day. I don't know.
I might be able to do another one.
All right, excuse me. Drag Xenoverse 2 continuing is not a bad thing.
Okay, so Dragon Ball Xenoverse being a sequel to Xenoverse, is that what you're saying?
Oh, I'm saying like okay, let me be a little more specific. I don't necessarily need Xenoverse 3.
Okay.
Look, I understand Xenoverse 2 has been going on for a long time and it just got more DLC. But is that really the worst thing possible? We have a game where we can create our own characters, and it's still a lot of fun. We get characters on a regular basis, we get more missions. And sure, I don't like paying DLC prices. I don't know anybody who's excited to do that. But at the same time, I like this formula. I like this formula, and technically, I guess we get the same with fighters and whatever the breakers. I think that's what it's called. But specifically Xenoverse because it's the only one I really play anymore. Or I like that we get more characters, we get more missions and stories. There are actually more stories built into the DLC, and I think it's interesting. And I'm gonna be honest, if we were to get a Xenoverse 3, I don't even know what it really would have.
I mean, I'm thinking back because Xenoverse 2, the base game for the most part was just the same game as Xenoverse 1 with with some extra powers thrown on top and then more tacked on at the end. But by comparison to like other games where there's new stuff throughout, it again, a lot of the levels are pretty much copy pastes of the original Xenoverse game.
Yeah. And like I've said before, I would like if there were like if we're doing time travel, we make changes to the timeline or more like what if scenarios and that sort of thing. But in my opinion, you could just do you could honestly just do a new game for that. And honestly, like we've both talked about, we still would like more creative character stuff. But just I don't know. I know a lot of people are waiting for Xenoverse 3, but or even just the ultimate Dragon Ball Z game that we've all been waiting on. Maybe we'll do a video about that. But in my opinion, I'm okay with waiting a little bit longer, or especially with Xenoverse 2. And I love Sparking Zero, but I think Xenoverse 2, I'm not ready to completely say goodbye just yet.
Okay. I like the idea. I'm thinking of like the way it could go is like if you change if you go back and change how a battle turned out, you get like different people who show up in your universe because so and so's alive now, and then by you, like to get and have the game have different endings where if you've changed the timeline too much, you get a bad ending. But if you
Yeah.
leave the timeline as close to the what would be considered correct, then you manage to keep the get one of the good endings or something.
Yeah. Granted, and even in a sense, the universe doesn't make a whole lot of sense because, like, but if they change the timeline, then everything here will change. I'm like, yeah, but tried to change the timeline in the anime, and it didn't work out for his timeline. So multiverse theory just doesn't exist in Xenoverse, I guess.
But then it does. So
Yeah, but that's a whole other can of worms. But my point being, if Xenoverse 2 were to last like another 5 years or so, I wouldn't be upset about it.
I can understand that. Think I really did enjoy when I was playing uh, Xenoverse on a regular basis.
Yeah, but I'm ready. I'm ready to move on.
All right. So this one, I think I know what your opinion is, and I think it's the opposite of mine, but I'm not 100% sure. I don't think Dragon Ball Super Gohan is a waste of a character. I think I think a lot of people are just disappointed that he's not a carbon copy of Goku, but I like the idea that he doesn't feel that he needs to train. His dad and Vegeta are like among the strongest beings in the universe, and he chooses to follow what he wants. He wants to be a teacher. He wants to do his research. Is it exactly what every person wanted? No, but I like that he's chosen his own path, whether even though it's not uh, what we wanted necessarily.
What makes you think I disagree with this?
I seem to remember you really not liking. I mean, again, he could have picked a better tracksuit, but
Very true.
that, but
Okay,
just
in all seriousness, here's the thing. Hey, I am not necessarily against the idea that Gohan wants a more relaxed life than always fighting. Hey, but to me, I guess my okay, so here I guess to me, it's not necessarily a Gohan thing. It's more of a thing of where it's like, okay, if Goku and Vegeta are gonna be gone like they always are, who's going to step up next? If it's not gonna be Gohan, that's fine. But the fact that they keep putting him in these situations is kind of what bothers me. But if anything, I actually kind of feel like Super redeemed him because he's shown to be trained. He's shown to be strong. He's shown to be like, if something happens to Videl and Pan, I need to be able to protect them. He is like I said, the Tournament of Power redeemed him because he was kind of their head strategist. He wasn't the strongest, but they used what he was good at, him being intelligent, because Lord knows nobody else on this show is. And even Frieza applauds him. It's like, oh, well done. And Frieza calls him leader. I said, I don't need Gohan to be the strongest, but let me put it this way. Gohan being the strongest, not being the strongest doesn't bother me. But when they don't show what Gohan is good at, that's what bothers me.
okay. I can understand, but I just again, I think a lot of people really hate on Dragon Ball Super Gohan because they feel like he should be at the same level as Goku and Vegeta. It's like they spend 99% of their time off-world training with the God of Destruction and his angel who's stronger than him to become and are accessing God Ki. Gohan does, I guess, if superheroes is part of the canon, then he does reach a point where he is maybe reaching their level again, but it
Yeah,
hasn't.
but to be fair, that movie did wait. Talk about unearned power-ups, because that whole movie felt like it was about Piccolo, and I was so happy. And then it's like, oh, Gohan gets something too. It's like, okay, I love Gohan, but you make it make sense.
Yeah, and especially Beast Gohan, I'm like, okay, well, but then he just kind of acts relatively normal. I mean, he's serious, and it kind of looks like his hair from when he was teen Gohan, or in other words, preteen Gohan. But
I think Beast Gohan would have been cooler if it was not exactly the same, but closer to Super Saiyan 4 with how it looks.
yeah, like imagine if he had regrown his tail at that point. That
Yeah.
would be interesting.
Or the fur. I don't know why. I always thought the fur of Super Saiyan 4 was the coolest thing about it.
Yeah, it was one of the better forms. I again, maybe it'll make a comeback at some point as its own unique thing besides in Heroes, but
Maybe your Saiyan learns Super Saiyan 4 while Goku and Vegeta learns Blue. I don't know.
it could be really interesting if it's just that next evolution of Super Saiyan that didn't exist in or exists in another universe or doesn't if it's saying doesn't tap into the God Key level. That would be interesting.
Yeah, the character you create gets Super Saiyan 4. I guess I have to come up with something else. But that's another topic for another day.
Okay.
But here's the thing. I agree with the sense of Gohan and Super works, but it only works when you showcase what he's good at. When you showcase him floundering, I can understand why people would be upset. And there's a lot that he excels at in Super, so I gave it a pass.
Yeah, I mean again, the tracksuit, yes, he could have picked anything else because I'm sure he still has gis from either that match his father's or matches Piccolo's. So
I think that's why Frieza blasted him. He's just like, ugh, this drip. As someone who is naked all the time, this drip is unacceptable. Pow.
all right, so your last one.
All right, this is a big one, and this is more for non-Dragon Ball fans, but who just don't seem to understand. Death being temporary isn't a bad thing.
Okay.
Okay, let's think about this. I'm mainly gonna stick with Z because when Goku dies and everybody realizes, sure, we can bring back Goku, but we all need to train ourselves. We all need to make things. We all have to make ourselves stronger against the Saiyans. When Trunks dies in when Trunks dies in the Cell arc, we know it's temporary, but that's the moment where Vegeta realizes that he wasn't good enough to Trunks, that he was heartbroken about the loss of him. Still, it took a little too long on his part, but it still was a change. There are so many characters who die in Dragon Ball Z just to get brought back, but they all motivate something. Vegeta's second death kind of motivates everybody kind of pulling their heads out of their asses and realizing, okay, now we really have to take Buu seriously. And even after he comes back from his second death, he has changed. It's Goku coming back the second time, he starts spending more time with his family. Well, mainly in Super, and GT's a whole nother thing. But there's just like the deaths mean something, even if they're not permanent.
I can agree. And there's still consequences, I think, at this point, because wait, oh no, they can bring everybody back at once. I keep forgetting about that. I wish that it was still one of those things like that there was time restrictions. Like, okay, if more than two of you die, then we have to wait a year or however many months it is for the current Dragon Ball set to be able to bring you back instead of bringing everybody back with one wish.
Yeah. And heck, Piccolo's death motivated Gohan because Gohan didn't run away that often on during the Freeze arc. He fought. Remember, when he wanted to go up against Nappa and Vegeta, he wanted to walk away and not deal with it. But after Piccolo's death, even though they know they can bring Piccolo back, Gohan still wants to fight. Hi, and he does a pretty good job, all things considered.
Yeah, I mean, and it becomes, as you said, a motivation because Goku sacrifices himself. I mean, we've trashed on the Cell arc, but again, I still really like the Cell arc, especially the final part of it
Yeah.
with the whole fight between Gohan and Cell.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, and a lot of people say, well, nobody dies, so what's the point? But there is more to it than that. I hate to sound cheesy about it, but there is a magic to it that not a lot of shows would be able to do. Look, I mean, apparently ReZero, one of the main characters, dies a lot. I don't know how it really affects the story at all. I'm sorry, but I just think that a lot of people need to kind of understand that there is more to the show than just, oh, well, who gets brought back, because when people die, it still means something, even if they come back 10 episodes later.
Yeah, and I mean, that's how even some of the power increases in this show. That's how the start of Super Z is. If you die, you go train for that while they wait for the Dragon Balls to reset so that they can bring you back.
Yeah. It still baffles me that we never get a Dragon Ball Z game about, oh, your character dies, but the story's not over.
That'd be really interesting. Is like if you could start off as like your character wakes up in what is it, King Gamba's office.
Yeah.
At his mahogany desk.
Yeah, sure.
Ah.
And some people will say stuff like, oh, well, if that's the case, they just do it too often. They keep milking the fact that people come back to life. Well, if they're milking the fact that keeps happening, then that's how I feel about it. This isn't even milk, it's eggnog.
I know.
But yeah, I just feel like a lot of sort of more lapsed or jaded fans, or even people who aren't fans in general, don't realize that, like I said, death happens in Dragon Ball, and it's not, and for the most part, it's temporary, but there's still meaning to it.
Exactly. I've talked about I like it sometimes when characters die, and unfortunately some shows, I love Fairy Tail, but the characters, when they cast spells that are supposed to kill them because it drains all their energy, they don't die. But there's no real good reason given, or they're not brought back to life. So okay. Yeah.
But just like I said, and it's one of the best things about Dragon Ball, and I think people need to recognize that, fans or otherwise.
All right, so I guess it's time to wrap up.
Let's get out of here. So, ladies, gentlemen, and others, what are some of your Dragon Ball hot takes? And just let us know. Oh, don't worry if it's something that you're scared about saying. There's no judgment here. Just let us know how you feel.
Yep. And do you agree with any of ours? Do you disagree with them? Do you think that they're like that's how it's supposed to be? Let us know.
Yeah. And any other series you want us to do hot takes for, just let us know. But be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and we'll see you next time. This has been Alex.
And Richard.
And you have been listening to Anime Egotists. Good night, and peace easy.